Hi, my name is Marisol Lopez, and I am your second grade math virtual content specialist. The purpose of this video is to help you as an educator understand and effectively implement the 3-read strategy in your class. Let's begin. What is the 3-read strategy? The 3-read strategy is a routine that essentially helps students slow down and really focus on the language and relationships in a word problem. Envision what is occurring and identify or generate some possible questions that could be answered by the information given in the word problem. In this video, you will learn 2 ways of implementing the 3-read strategy in your class. Practice, practice, practice. When learning to ride a bike, you've got to practice, practice, practice. The same is true with this routine. It is important to practice it often with your students, thus enhancing their word problem comprehension and solving skills. When introducing the strategy, the teacher usually reads the word problem aloud, just the number story, not the question yet. Afterwards, the teacher can call on a student to retell in their own words what is occurring in the word problem to help check for comprehension. You may also ask students to engage in a turn and talk with a peer or engage in small group discussion to share with each other what they comprehend is occurring in the word problem. Lastly, students can also be encouraged to draw a picture of what is occurring in the problem or even act it out. Let's look at the word problem from today's lesson. If you notice, we are only focusing on the word problem stem, in other words, the number story. We are not reading or presenting the questions just yet. The word problem says, over the weekend, Jackson and Kensington were collecting seashells on the beach. Jackson collected 145 shells. He still had 58 fewer than his friend Kensington. On the second read, which can be done as a choral read, students are being asked to identify the question, or in this case, questions in the word problem. You may ask the student to highlight or underline the questions in the word problem. Students may also be asked to generate other possible questions that could be answered with the information given in the word problem. Let's look at the word problem from today's lesson once again. This word problem has 2 questions. Students should highlight or underline both questions. Students are also encouraged to come up with other questions that can be answered by the information given in the word problem. This can be done in pairs or small groups if needed. On the third read, we are identifying what the problem is asking us to do. At this time, the students have already identified the questions. After reading the problem a third time, you may ask the students to identify and highlight or underline any other information they think is important to solve the problem and essentially answer the question. Referring back to today's word problem, after the students have highlighted or underlined the important information, they can then begin to plan the strategy they will use to answer the question. Now, you will learn a different way to present the 3-read strategy, thus giving you ideas on how to modify instruction as needed for your class. Once again, when introducing the strategy, the teacher usually reads the problem stem aloud, at times calling on a student to retell in their own words what is occurring in the word problem to help check for comprehension. You may also ask students to engage in a turn and talk with a peer or engage in small group discussion to share with each other what they comprehend is occurring in the word problem. Students can also be encouraged to draw a picture of what is occurring in the problem or even act it out. In this modification, you may choose to present a word problem stem instead of a number story, as we did with the earlier word problem. In this example, you will notice that this word problem is just a story, essentially a stem. No question has been asked yet. There are also no quantities in this word problem. This is something that you need to point out if students do not mention this noticing. Math word problems always involve quantities and units. This time, you want to ask the students to reread the word problem stem one more time, together with you as a choral read or in pairs, this time with quantities. On day one, you will only have presented a word problem stem. Therefore, students can work in pairs or small groups to determine what a possible question would be. In future lessons, when students are solving word problems independently, the word problem already has a question or questions. You may choose to ask the student to identify, highlight, or underline the questions in the word problem, as we did in the earlier example. Let's revisit the number story. The word problem stem is now a number story. It's now presented with quantities. After students have read it one more time, students are called to share any noticings about the quantities as well as possible questions that can be asked pertaining to these quantities. Teacher can generate a class list of possible questions, and as a class, students and teacher rule out questions that cannot be answered using the information provided. A possible question for this word problem would be, how many stickers does Mia have? During the third read, students are identifying what the problem is asking them to do. At this time, you have already identified possible questions. You may choose to ask the student to identify and highlight or underline any other information they think is important to solve the problem, and essentially answer the question. Students also begin to plan the strategy they will use to answer the question. Let's review. How do we do the 3-read strategy? The first time we're reading for comprehension, so we're thinking, what is the problem about? The second time, we are asking ourselves, what is the question in the word problem, or creating possible questions. And during the third read, we are identifying important information in the word problem that will help us solve it, as well as planning how we're going to solve it. I hope this video has helped you understand the purpose of implementing the 3 reads routine in your class and has given you ideas to modify your instruction. Thanks for watching. Until next time.